Okay, so let me just fill you in.
Okay.
After we had our little meeting last week,
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Alex,
Mm-hmm.
and Alex said that they don't want the acknowledging page on the second page.
Oh, okay.
What we should be trying, so I got rid of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then what I did is I created a,
Let's see.
this is awful. We were able to create one of those, oh, so this paper to project
Uh-huh.
will go actually to the project page. That
Okay.
was a good thing.
Okay. Okay, so you made a link, you changed the link to a different type of content. Okay, that's great.
That's something I want to ask you too.
Sure.
Like, okay.
So we have the paper to project field there. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah. Where did we see it? Okay, that's the perfect. Paper to project.
Mm-hmm.
If the paper is an entity reference, does
Mm-hmm.
that always mean that it's a link?
It can be different things actually. So you could actually display that the rendered entity as well. So you can do a couple different things. You can link it to a different entity, and also just a step back, an entity can be a lot of different things. It could be like a node, like a one of these content type pages. It could be something like a taxonomy or even other just type like maybe like even like a user or other types of entities. So right now we limit it to reference to just other types of content, but we could either display that as like a link to that specific node, or we could actually render that node right there directly on the page as well. So it kind of depends on how you want to do it.
Okay. I think right now, this is be more clear on the terminology as far as entity reference. Was it just specific to a link?
Mm. So it can be a little bit more than a link though. So it is definitely a connection to other types of quote unquote entities within the Drupal system, but it could actually be more than a link. So for instance, where it says link and it goes to the other page, you could actually render content from that other page directly on the first page instead of rendering a link if you wanted to.
Okay.
And I could show you how to do that if you're interested.
Well, let's just try to clear away the appearance of it.
Okay.
So Alex officially was going to attend today's little session,
Sure.
but unfortunately his daughter was sick last night and
Oh no.
he wasn't able to make it.
Oh.
So
Well.
this is the new website here that you're seeing here,
Okay.
and this is an abstract page for a technical working paper.
Oh yeah.
So
Looks nice.
Alex said that we should be trying to get this project page to look as much like this page as we can.
Uh huh. Okay.
So we have the title, it's obviously not with the same font and whatnot, but
Sure.
the style,
Yep.
title, center, the authors,
Mm-hmm.
the words, all the ID numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah. No, that looks great.
and then I guess he likes to acknowledge an idea. So is this something we can do on that one page?
Oh yeah. And you click it and it kind of expands. Is that what happens? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. We can do something like that.
Okay.
And
That's I think
is it basically just a paragraph of text, or is there?
that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Then
It's
So you formally, I think I told you to remove it last time, but you had a field there that was like a body text field previously. We'd probably want to add something like that back in.
I did.
Okay. Yeah, we might want to
So,
add that back in and do it off of that.
is that
Okay.
what I did?
Oh, perfect. You already did. Great.
Let's see how the page is right now.
Awesome.
The title, author,
Yep.
issue date,
Perfect.
abstract acknowledgement. I just put this into the body afterwards,
Uh-huh.
and then the links, the executive summary, and take it to the page.
Yeah.
So we go to edit. So I don't know if that's it. That was something to be, but
Sure. Yeah. No, that looks.
and then so I guess the idea is to have this centered,
Mhm.
and this to be underneath,
Mhm.
and then
So, yeah, this looks great. There's a couple things I'm thinking here when I'm looking at that screen that you were just on, where you were editing the page. I think it's that second to yeah, that one there. So, yep. So, I think this is great. It looks like you have all the information filled out there. One thing I'm thinking though, if you scroll up a little bit on this page, a little bit more. So do you see how the abstract title is in that body there? Since that's an unstructured field, it's going to make it, ooh, I think we went a little beyond. So you know paper abstract specific aims. What I would probably do is I would change the label text of that section to just be the thing that you want to appear at the top as the title, so like abstract. And then I would display the label, and that will give you kind of a structured way to make like a clickable thing that can open and close every time. Because if we put it within the body, then we have to actually make sure that it's wrapped in the correct HTML versus like templating and theming it on the outside or writing CSS to target it directly. If we keep it all within the WYSIWYG field there, that text field, then there's potential that we might like mess up some of the HTML structure on the back end, or like and make it so it's not actually targeted the right way and break some of that functionality. But if we do it to the actual label text, we probably have a better possibility of being able to do that. Yeah, so what I would do is like, so, and if you scroll down a little bit, so paper acknowledgements is the same thing. So see how it says acknowledgements? Like I would get rid of that text with it, just the acknowledgement title, and I would make where it says paper acknowledgements just say acknowledgements. So you do that on the content type. And is that clear kind of what I'm talking about just before we hop too much into it? Yeah, exactly. So you like, and if you edit the content type, is this one of the papers? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, where it says paper acknowledgements, if you just like edit, oh, that one as well, yeah. So I would just change that label to just be abstract, and then I would display the label on the actual page. Yeah, so save that. And then the same thing with paper acknowledgements, I would just make that acknowledgements if that's the title that you want to appear. Great. And then on the manage display, that tab, you see under manage fields at the top, there's manage display, yeah. Great. Yeah, and if the label's already there, then that's great. Just I'd put it like probably above.
how come I didn't change in here?
Was it already set to above, or what was it set to previously?
How come the name isn't changed?
Oh.
I changed it.
Oh, that's interesting. It might just be kind of a Drupal, but I actually never really liked how they displayed the labels there instead of the machine names, but it might just be some kind of Drupal kind of bug.
Oh, it did now.
Oh, it did? Okay. Yeah, maybe it just needed a second to do it. But yeah, so okay, so those are both displayed above. Okay, great. So if you save that, and then you save the form that you're editing, and it looks like you did that. And if you look at that page after you've deleted those, have you saved that page? Okay. The screen share is a little bit of a delay, so I see things a little delayed. So if you scroll down now, does it have the abstract in the title? It doesn't? Okay, so yeah, let's try to get those to display. Maybe we were doing it on the default display instead of the full display. Yeah, so full content. Let's make sure we have it there. It says visually hidden for acknowledgements. Let's change that to above. Yeah, we might have done it on the default display instead of the full display. So potentially that's what we did there. Okay, great. So yeah, now like that we have those titles there, we could actually just target that HTML and do some kind of like accordion style hiding of those elements. And yeah, so
We just want to do it for the acknowledgement.
just for the acknowledgements. Okay. Great. So what I would do is I would just kind of Google like a quick like I would Google accordion CSS. So I can do that for us right now. And then there's a lot of different ways to do it, but they have a couple of examples here. Like so, for instance, I'll chat this on the on the actual screen share here. So do you see like the chat box in the screen share? I'm sending you a link that has an example of an accordion. So basically, so you can see how they have some certain HTML here, and then they have a little bit of CSS, and they also have a quick Java. I think they have a little bit of, let's see, add the active class. So they have a little bit of JavaScript on it as well. So basically, what's that? So basic.
Stay away from Java though.
So there might be a way to do it with pure. So I guess if we're going to do it with pure CSS, there's a couple things. So basically, the JavaScript allows you to keep track of the click action that's happening on it. So you could do it with JavaScript. There probably is a way to do it with pure CSS, but the way that you typically do that is you have hidden checkboxes, and you make the checkbox position such that the person clicks on the checkbox, and then that hidden checkbox actually makes the style of it appear to expand or contract based on clicking on that checkbox. So it might be a little bit more involved to do the pure CSS version, but we could probably do something like that if that's what you're interested in doing. Let me see if I can look up that real quick. Let's see, pure CSS accordion. Let me see if I can find a good example here, and then we can do it. Okay, so it's a code pen. So there's a couple examples here. Okay. Let's see. All right. I'm sending you this link. So they're all going to be they're all going to take a little bit of effort to get through. It's not going to be something that we probably can do in like 2 minutes because we're going to have to make sure that the HTML is correct to do this, and then we're going to have to target with the CSS. So trying to think of the best way to. What's that?
Where do we
So you're gonna have to do a couple. Yes, we're gonna have to write some CSS that goes into like the normal CSS file that you use to style your web page, and you're gonna have to add the style that makes it do that kind of contracting and expanding if you want that type of widget to work on your site. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So yeah, unfortunately, they all take a little bit of. Let's see here. Let me. I'm just looking through this. Open one. I wish there wasn't two examples here.
Well, would it be easier to, rather than tackle that today,
Mm-hmm.
because of the time,
Yeah.
to get the abstract acknowledgement a larger font?
Sure. Yeah, that'd probably be easier to do. And I'm trying to think. Like I mean, if I'm happy to
Centered?
yeah, and I'm happy to write the accordion stuff. Like if there's an easy way for me to collaborate on the project, it might be easier. I mean, it'd probably be less of a learning experience, but I could write it pretty quickly and share it if that's desired. But we could also go through. I'm just worried that it will eat up. Going through that will probably eat up our whole time just trying to get that to work at a basic level. So yeah, let's look through targeting some of this other stuff and making it appear a little bit more closely to the other site. You want to try to do that first? Okay, so do you have the CSS file on your server? I remember you used to I think you used to edit directly there or FTP.
I don't know, is it this one?
It might be that one. Yeah. It probably is something like that.
Do we have the block logo?
Yeah. So is that what file are you in right now?
Well, let me go, I'll go to, let me do this. Is this CSS the same for both the RDC and the SOSS site?
The C
The same?
Yeah, since it's all one website, wherever you wrote in the other one, you could probably write in this one as well. Although we're using two different themes, so I can't remember how if we connect. It's been a long time since we worked on the one last time, but
I know. I was going by date. And then it's more on a underline theme.
yeah. Okay. So then you have a that CSS folder there, and the screen kind of jumped faster than I could see it, but this is the CSS from that folder. Okay. Styles at CSS. Okay. So yeah, if you open up that, you should be able to write something in there real quick and see if it actually works or not. Okay, yeah, try. Well, yeah, give that one a shot. See, yeah, try the yeah, try styles. See what's in there. So typically, I think we talked about this a while ago. Like the way to do it, if we weren't doing it just yeah. Okay. Okay, excellent. So yeah, like you could try to target something. I mean, the way to do it is like just, you could do a quick test right here, write body, and then try to change the body to red and see if that works, and then save it and see if it actually changes it. So if you write the word body and then you make an opening and closing bracket, and inside there you say background red. And give it an important tag. Just to see if it's background colon red, and then do exclamation point important after that. In between where the D and the semicolon is, do a space and exclamation point the word important, just to make sure the style actually appears there. Your screen, okay, yep, and well, actually, you need the semicolon after the word important, and you need it deleted after the D. The screen's a little bit delayed, so I don't see what you write until like 5 seconds after you write it. So sorry. You need the colon after background, and actually background needs an R in it. It's missing an R. But you this. Yeah, but the so it looks like that's a semicolon, Debbie. So that needs a regular colon, just the 2 dots. That's okay. And then after red, you want that semicolon removed. Yeah, okay. And you see how there's a semicolon after red? Remove that, and then make sure after important it has a semicolon instead of a colon. Yeah. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so if you save that, we'll see if this changes your actual background colors to red or not. If you reload that, and you might have to flush your caches as well. It's kind of like the constant saga of Drupal. Everything's cached. So do you remember where to do that? Okay, perfect. Okay.
Oh, it was red for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's red for a little bit. Yeah, that was interesting. So maybe inspect the element. So if you right click and you say inspect on this page, potentially we might be overriding that or something there. So let's just inspect the element. Oh, it's not letting you, what is it? Is it saying anything when you click inspect? I can't really see on my end. Are you in Edge right now? What browser are you in? It looks like Microsoft Edge. Can you try in Chrome? That might be a little easier to. I see you have Chrome opened on your dock there. It might be a little easier to do this in Chrome. Obviously, you won't be logged in, unfortunately, but you might have an easier time actually looking at it. Yeah, I'm just curious if maybe, I just want to make sure the style is being applied. So if I can't see your Chrome browser right now, unfortunately. Okay. Okay, and then if you inspect here, and then if you if you scroll up to the top of the document that's the HTML on the right hand side that's open, and you click on the body tag, it'll be right at the very top of the document. So if you scroll all the way up, you see where it says body there. Just click on that.
Body class?
Yep, right there. Give that a click. And then if you open up this, like if you make the window on the very right a little bit larger so you can see the styles, see if your background red is being added there at all. Okay, do you see that? I actually see it right there. Do you see the thing way to the right where it says styles? Can you make that window a little bit bigger? Yep. So it looks like that style is being added. You see the background red important there? So, I mean, you could go in there, go into your style sheet again. You could change it to blue and see if that changes to blue. Save that, and you'd have to flush the caches again. But just we're basically just trying to make sure that where you're writing the CSS is actually being applied to the site.
You know what I think it is? I think that it's applying the color, but I think the style sheet is just like it's using the theme of the style.
Yeah, it's possible that, I mean, as long as it's there in the CSS that's being sent to the server, I don't mind too much if you can see it or not. Like there might be a lot of things going on there that are either overriding it or
I think we have.
yeah. Yeah, so as long as we know the CSS is actually coming through, then we can start writing our specific styles. So you want to just open up inspect the element again and just make sure that it's blue now and make sure that that style is what we were writing. So like on your actual page in Chrome. And was this reloaded? Says red. Huh. And you cleared the caches and reloaded this page, Devin?
Can you see it, Jim? I'm sorry.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I hit the mic by mistake.
Oh, no, I can't. Yep, I can see it. It looks blue. Great. Okay, so it looks like our styles are coming through. So we don't need that style body background, but we know that those styles are coming through, so that's good. So now we can start going through and actually looking at some of the elements on the page and making them look the way that we want to, and we can just add it right to this file here. And keep in mind that, so I think we talked early on when we're doing styles that typically if you want to make sure that your changes aren't overridden when you update your themes, then you probably would want to do that process of sub-theming, which, is this actually a sub-theme that you've created? I can't remember. Is this a sub-theme that we had created in the past? I can't remember if this was a sub-theme or a base theme that we're using. But
I think it was that.
oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Cool. So yeah, so now we have the style here. Let's go through and what's the first thing that you want to change on your web page? You want it to make like the title larger and centered. Is that true?
Yeah. I'm just let me go to the slide.
Sure.
We have it larger in size and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
kind of have it larger.
Okay.
bold.
Oh, so we want it to look like this?
Or,
So we,
not that bold.
yeah. I mean, we could make it look like anything that that you want it to look like. So if you want it to look like this with a little orange underline and that, we can definitely do that kind of thing. So just let me know what
I don't
you,
want the underline.
or you don't, okay. So do you want it to look more like this page here?
Or like, I want it centered, bold,
Okay.
title, like the author's underneath, and then
Okay.
maybe we should be something more like this.
Sure. I think the first steps would be let's center and bold it, and then we can go from there. So let's look at the actual page that we're trying to change. Let's inspect the element of the actual page that we want to change, and then we can go from there. So this is the page? Okay, let's right click on the actual where it says what drives prescription opioid abuse. And let's because that's the title, right? What drives prescription opioid abuse at the top? That's the title. Let's inspect that and let's see what the HTML looks like there. Okay. Okay, so you can see yeah, so you can see the HTML that's doing that. So it says it's a W3 bar item, but we probably want to make sure, you want to be really specific when you're actually naming this stuff, right? So in our CSS, if we're not specific enough, we might actually affect other pieces of HTML that we don't intend to. So I usually try to look for a really specific thing around this. So it looks like the current element there is a W3 bar item, but I could see there being other W3 bar items, so I just want to make sure that we're specific enough. So at the top, right above that, do you see where it says field name, field paper name? It's like, it's right above the label. So go up one more step, and you see how one of the classes in there is a field hyphen name hyphen field hyphen paper hyphen name? Yeah. So there's a bunch of classes in there. And Debbie, do you remember how the classes are working generally? Yeah, so basically, do you see where it says like the HTML element that you're on right now is a div element, and you can add classes to any kind of element, and basically those are just names that make that div a specific element. So we have a div, which is general, and then we have these classes, and we have a bunch of them, and classes are separated by spaces. So the first class you have there is W3 section. That's the first class. The second class you have there is field. The third one is field name field paper name. So I think that to me is a really specific, because that class there where it says field name, field paper name, that is corresponding to that field that we actually created on the back end when we added the field to the content type. So we know we've only added one of those specific types of fields to this specific page. And we know that every time that we added that, which is once, we want it to appear in a certain style. So I would feel pretty comfortable saying, okay, that's specific enough. And so if we copy that specific class there, the third one over that says field hyphen name, field paper name, that one, then we should use that in our CSS. So if you double click in there, it should give you, yeah, exactly. And then you just really need to highlight that middle one there. Exactly. And if you copy that, we can start using that in our CSS.
I'm going to take this out, right?
Yeah, you don't need that. That was just an example to make sure we're in the right space. And so remember, classes start with a period. So if you do period and then paste what was in your clipboard, that will give us that specific class.
Okay.
Perfect. Excellent. So then you can do an open bracket, or curly brace rather, sorry. And then here, so we know we want a couple things to happen, right? We know we want the text to be bold. So you do a font style, bold. Actually, sorry, it's font weight. I'm sorry, font weight, bold. Yep. And then and then center. So you can say text align center, and that will probably put it in the center of the page. And there just has to be a hyphen between text align.
Yeah.
And then that's great. Perfect. Perfect. And so you can so this will be valid and that will work. You could also put those each on their own lines if you wanted to format it differently, but that should work as is, I believe. Do you see how like the one above where it says profile flexes on one line and padding's on the next? You can do that if you want to format it that way.
Yeah. This is okay.
Okay, great. So if you save it and then you clear the caches, you can check back on that page and see if anything changed with that title.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we make it a little bigger?
Yeah. Yep. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. So font size is probably the thing that you want to add, but you can do that with either pixels or rems or ems. But we might want to just try to do like a font hyphen size, and then say.
Can you do like an okay. So.
And then a colon, and then say something like 2 or 3 REMs. Then put a semicolon. Yeah. Then put a semicolon afterwards. Perfect. Yeah, so save that, and then if you clear the caches again and reload, hopefully that'll make it a little bit bigger. I don't know. It should be okay. It's just probably your text editor syntax highlighting. I noticed above where it said display flex. Flex was black too. It just might not recognize it for whatever reason, but it should be valid. You could also set a specific pixel if you wanted to. You could say like, 18 pixels or 20 pixels or whatever you want. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's.
So then, go back here.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same process. You kind of find the HTML that belongs to that. So again, you can see where it says field. Do you see above field name, field paper author? One step above that. Yeah, do you see that class in there? So again, so this is another div with a bunch of classes on it. And one of the classes that Drupal's adding is the class for that specific field name. So field name, field paper author. And you could do the same thing to target that specific field like you did with the title, and then write a specific style for that. What's that? Oh, so if you double click it, usually highlights. You should be able to. Yeah, can you like double click and then click and drag to highlight a specific thing? Is that working? Okay, perfect. So yeah, you'd create a new one right below that, just the same way. So again, it's a class, so you'd start it with a dot. And then do you just want to center this, or is there a specific style you want to add to this one?
wish it wasn't so slow.
Yeah. So it would be, I mean, I know we talked about in the past potentially what it would be like to set up a local development environment. It would save you a lot of time on all these page clicks and stuff. So I don't know if Tim or Alex thinks that's valuable at some point, or you or whoever wants to make that decision thinks that's valuable. We could go through that process. It's definitely a lot more steps to set it up, but once you set it up, it's going to make every bit of development you do that much faster. So it'll be a little bit more work in the short run, but it'll save you a lot of efficiencies in the long run, I think. So if you guys decide as a team that that's what you want to do, just let me know and we can look into that too.
Okay.
Hey, that looks good.
All right. So that looks better. So I guess we want that to actually say issue date.
Yeah, I think there's like 3 pieces of information. Are we collecting all those right now, or do we have to add a couple additional fields for those? Remember the example that you were looking at?
No,
So this is the content type page.
a little anxious when I use.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm happy to use the time however you think is best suited to help you. So if you want to hop around to something different, then.
So it says paper date here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you are collecting a paper date. Okay. So there's the date.
But and I have a view, but there was nowhere. Well, so maybe there's a way in the view that you can put in a label.
So it should be on the, so we're on the node page right now, Debbie. So if you go to like the display settings of that content type, you should be able to set all that stuff. Does that make sense? Because the
Inline here.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. So if you make sure that if you scroll up, make sure that we're on the full content first, because these are view modes. Drupal calls these view modes. Like content types can have multiple view modes. So if you scroll to the top, okay, full content, great. And then on the full content, just make sure that it's are we trying to do the date right now? Yeah. So it says issue paper date, and it said hidden. So you could make that display if you wanted to display the label. Great. And you could also change the date format to whatever you want. Did you notice that on the right hand side? So if that date format's great, then excellent.
You know, they said inline. Why did they put it above?
Actually, I think this is either a theming or a Drupal problem. We can change it ourselves, but I've actually noticed this when I've done stuff before. The inline doesn't really work because what it should do is it should change the element to an inline style element, aka a span, and it probably has it as a div. So we could, if you inspect this, we can take a look and see what's happening there, and we can fix it ourselves, even though they didn't fix it for us. So if you right click on it like we're looking at the other ones, and you can do this in Chrome or doing it in here, it's fine either way. Let's just take a look at what that actual element is, and we'll just add some CSS to make it inline. So reload that page and let's see that thing there. And if you click on, do you see where it says manage in the toolbar there, Debbie? Click manage again. That should close that left sidebar and give you a little more space if you want. See at the top left there? Did that close it? Perfect. Okay. Great. So yeah, so if you look at that, okay, so we're looking right now. So do you see where there's the label and then there's the div? So yeah, so yeah, you're totally right. So where it says field name, field issue paper date, let's copy that because that's our specific field class. And then do you see how in between that element there's a label and then there's a div with a field underscore underscore item. Sometimes it's hard to, yeah, sometimes it's really tricky. And then you have to click it again to like get it to not select everything, and then you can click and drag from there. But it's kind of a pain sometimes. Is it not working? Oh, there you go. That looks...
Now where do you want me to go?
Yeah, so copy everything from to the word date. It looks like you have a little bit too much selected there. But yeah, let's create a new one. Yeah, so if you create a new, do a dot and a paste. So you see, yeah, delete that extra word field at the end there. That's okay. I would just delete the extra word field. And then, so after that, so we're going to do something a little bit different here. So, well, actually, we're probably going to do a couple things. So, did you want this centered as well?
Yeah, see how. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a couple things. Let's center it. So where you had in that CSS. And actually, you could do a couple things here. Let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna get the style kind of close to this. So, in between those curly brackets that you just added, do a text align center, like you did above.
Okay.
And then do a padding of, let's just say 20 pixels for now, 20 px. And then say border hyphen top. So border, and then like the minus sign top.
Top?
Yep. And a colon. And if you do a colon and say 1 px space solid. Great. And then do another one and say border hyphen bottom and do 1 px solid as well. Just make sure that, yeah, perfect. Okay. And then, okay, great. And then let's do it. And then below that whole grouping, if you copy the field name, field issue paper date, let's copy that and do that again real quick. So if you go back to the CSS, yeah. So let's just fix these things real quick. So copy that very first line there, that field name, and then paste that below. Okay, perfect. So what we need to do here is we need to make something more specific. So make sure it starts with a period to say that's a class. Excellent. And then after the word date, but before the bracket there, do a space and write the word label. Okay.
Okay.
And then we're going to do something kind of tricky here. So the way that, if you want to, okay, so first of all, let's step back. And what we're doing here is when you do a space in your CSS, you're saying that the label appears within an element that has this class, right? So we have a class, this field name, field issue paper date, and that's a wrapping element. It's a wrapping div around 2 sub-elements. One of them is the label and one of them is the actual content. So we're saying, hey, let's target the label that occurs within this class, and we're going to do some styles to it. But I also want to target another element. So the way you can target two elements with the same style is you can put a comma and then write the other class name. So just bear with me and I'll go over it again quickly afterwards. But so after the word label, put a comma,
Okay.
and then press enter and go to a new line.
Okay, you want me to get rid of this then?
You can keep that for now. So let's press enter and it'll go to the next line, but that's okay. So you want and sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. Oh, perfect. Okay. And then write the same thing you had above. So dot field hyphen hyphen name field issue paper label. Write that out again. Perfect.
Comma?
Yeah, no comma this time, and keep the curly bracket. Now instead of label, can you actually flip back to Chrome real quick? I want to make sure I get the class name here correctly. So we were looking at the HTML in Chrome. Okay, so do you see what we're doing here? So you have the wrapping div there, and then you see how there's the label within there, and then there's also a div in there that says it has a class of field underscore underscore item. You see that? So basically what we want to do is we want to make those two things appear in line with each other. So they no longer does the label appear above the item, the date item. We want them to appear in line. So that's what we're going to do real quick. So let's just grab the field underscore underscore item class. Yeah, exactly. So copy that. And then instead of label, let's do a dot and then put that. Yeah, the second one, exactly. Do a dot and then put that there.
Do a dot?
Yep, since it's a class, you need a dot for that one. The label is actually the HTML element, so it doesn't need a dot. But this one's a class, so it needs the dot. Right, yeah, exactly. And then make sure there's a space between date and the dot, because we want to indicate that. So you need the dot right next to the F, and you need a space after date, and then dot, and then the F right after it. There's a little bit of a delay, but it looks like you're doing it right. Yep, perfect. Okay. So now we're targeting both of those internal elements that happen within the issue paper date field. And what we want to do is we want to say display and then colon, and then say inline hyphen block. Great. And then let's close the bracket that we started. So just on the next line, you can just close it like you normally would close it. Okay, so that's a lot. Let's save this. I mean, we only have a couple more minutes here, so hopefully this looks like something and I haven't completely butchered it. But if you save that and refresh it, and then clear caches and refresh the page, let's just see what this looks like right now. We did a lot of writing of stuff without actually looking what it looks like on the display. So let's see if we've made a mess of it or not. Perfect. Hey, so we're getting there. So you know, you could do a couple things from here. You could bold just the label if you wanted to, or you could, you know, do whatever you want. But it's getting closer to what we had looked at before on the other page. So hopefully that's getting you started. So you could if you wanted to, you could just bold that like where it says issue paper date and like leave the actual date non-bolded. You could do something like that if you wanted to. Is it clear how you would do that if you wanted to?
No.
Okay, so yeah, so it is kind of confusing. So since we kind of combine those two things for the inline block, you'd have to write another one, another grouping that separates it. So if you copy that top line there, Debbie, that says label, where it says field name, field issue paper date, and then space label, copy that one and paste it again below everything again. It's a little bit confusing. And then instead of the comma this time, you just do the normal bracket. So you got to get rid of that little comma. So you're very close. It looks like the last bracket's going the wrong way though, so you just have to update that. The very bottom, yeah, that's okay. But yeah, that looks great. So if you save that and then reload, you should be able to see the change there. And then I am out of time for this session, but maybe we can just like really, if that works, we can really just quickly recap what's going on there, and then maybe either schedule a follow-up, or I'll leave that up to you if you want to do another one next week, or what you want to do. But hopefully this was helpful. Great. So is that all making sense?
It does. And I think I can go through with abstract. I think I'm going to think the abstract, acknowledgement, and PDF, and that. I think I'm going to skip them left a line.
Okay. Great.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it looks nice.
If I look at,
I mean, you can definitely do a couple minor things to like spice it up a little bit and make it look a little more like that other web page. Like you can do lots of things like you can lighten the color of like the horizontal lines if you wanted. You can make those like light gray. You could add some space in between like the issue paper date and like the authors. So you could add some margins outside of that padding. So the place where we define the padding as 20 pixels, you could add some margin top and margin bottom to that to space that out a little more. There's a lot of little subtle things you can do, and I would just say, like, since you know how to do it, just play around with it a little bit and you know, design something that looks good to you.
okay. Well, you know what? Maybe I should talk to Alex some more and see what he thinks so far.
Okay.
And then maybe let me figure out what his schedule is next week, and maybe we can fool around with making this more like a accordion. But I'll try too.
Yeah, the accordion's gonna be a little bit of a challenge, but I fully think you can do it. So I would look at some of those examples that I sent you in the chat, and then just see if you can make sense of what they're doing there, and maybe you can apply it yourself. And if you have any trouble, then we can look at it together at some point. Awesome. So do you want to reach out to me after you've looked into it with Alex to schedule the next meeting?
Not today, so hopefully it'll be in tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. Great.
And if he's not in tomorrow, I'll let you know one way or the other tomorrow.
Awesome.
If he's in or not.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds great.
Yeah. A lot better.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it seems like you totally have a good handle on how to do this stuff. So, yeah, I'm excited to see.
Very kind.
I'm excited to see where you're at next week, and if you need more help, then just let me know and we can take another look. But it looks like you're cruising at this point.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. All right, thanks, Debbie.
Okay, bye.
I'll see you later.